I've always really been drawn to them ever since I've had a Atari 2600 when I was little.
I just played a lot of games growing up. I'm a big puzzle game guy. I love Portal.
I remember going out and buying these magazines. They'd have pages of code. I sat there for days typing in from the magazine into the computer. If you missed one letter, none of it worked, so you had to be like super precise.
The main difference between like a film and a video game is you actually get to experience it. You look at games like Man of Medan and Little Hope, the Dark Pictures franchise, where they are basically movies where you get to make a couple key choices in them. And I feel like that adds in so much extra enjoyment that you can get that you don't get from just sitting and watching something.
It's really interesting because there's a lot of factors that come into play. There's market trends that a publishing group will look at and say, okay, well currently there's a big influx of FPSs coming in, or RTSs, or racing games. So you kind of find that where we are in that kind of cycle, because games are cyclic. They come in waves, right? And then you try to pick something, a broad scope genre first, and then you go back and you write up some pitch documents.
I don't know that I've ever worked on a game that was the game we started with. It gets pushed and pulled around in every direction. You're kind of worrying what's going to happen with it, but then closer to the end, somehow everything comes together, and the 11th hour magic is there, and you start to see the real game, and it starts to feel like a real game. My involvement in the concept phase is, coming up with the ideas and getting them down on paper.
The length of me walking with you down the hallway and getting into an elevator and telling you about my game. That's the first paragraph. Then the subsequent paragraphs kind of have, a little more specifics.
Thinking about how the player's journey would be, what kinds of things are they doing, just getting that down into a document, talking it over with other people on the team, soliciting their feedback, iterating on the document until it's something that you can kind of pitch to a green light process.
If you're greenlit into production mode, then you have yourself a couple of years typically to finish the product. We'll typically draw a line in the sand like, hey, we want to ship by 2027, work backward all the way to where we are now, and we'll build a schedule based off that. That schedule will have all the systems defined, all the content we're going to make.
I'm the lead game systems designer, so I need to oversee development of the different ideas. So game systems is things like, what is the progression of the player, what kind of items are they getting, what kind of power growth is there, all those different things. So I need to make sure that the documentation that my team is writing fits with like the overall tenets for the game.
What are the key pillars of the product? What are the three main things you do in this game, aside from all the other stuff we're gonna have to add, that define what this product is? Smaller groups of people working on different pieces of it, right? And they'll all say, hey, we're gonna get X, Y, and Z functional by the end of this month. They'll go for 3 weeks, they'll work on it, and then at week 4 we'll use that as an opportunity to kind of tighten up everything. We'll use that as a cleanup stage, and then we'll present it. And if that's successful, then we move on to the next task, right? And we just rinse and repeat.
So we want to make the best game we can, but sometimes decisions are made and changes need to be made. But then there's also deadlines you have to meet, because you have to reach a point that more seniors in the company can review the product. Cramming a lot of work into that time is usually tricky.
The expectations of players in AAA gaming now make it to where you have to deliver super high quality product to impress them. Otherwise they turn on your game, they look at it, and they move along to the next game, right? Look at Call of Duty, for example. That game is a huge undertaking, and the expectations of the player are that it's responsive, it feels perfect, the characters look fantastic, right? There's just so much that the player expects out of a product these days.
It's tricky making sure you can fit in all the things that you promised within a deadline.
I couldn't give you a number. It's different based off the project, right? So you're looking at budgets for these projects, 100, 200 million plus to make these games these days. To be able to make a competitive AAA game in the market, you have to have significant financing. And with that financing, there's risk. You know, even though you spend $200 million on a game, doesn't mean it's going to be a success. If it doesn't play good at its core, it doesn't feel good, and it's not engaging for the player, doesn't matter how much money you put into it. That's why we're very strict on the production schedule. We go through these gates and we figure out, hey, is this product going in the right direction? We try to be in a position with these huge budgets that we know we're going to get a decent return on to cover the cost of development and hopefully profit from it. And if we don't see that light early on, we'll actually cancel the project. I mean, we could be in 100 million and still cancel a project. It's not unheard of. It's just a thing. It's how it goes in the industry. Better to cut your loss early than triple it, right?
Why is it important to playtest? If you don't, every issue goes through. Looking at, there's a lot of games coming out right now, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where there's just a ton of bugs coming through, and those are the ones that slip through the cracks. If we didn't have, quality assurance and everything, it's going to be way worse than that. Because, no matter how great your programmers and developers are, there's still going to be gaps that can be wedged into. Working QA, it's kind of like if you put a baby in front of one of the little, box of blocks that have all the different shaped holes, and the baby just keeps putting in shapes into the wrong holes because technically it'll fit. It's not where it's supposed to go. And that's kind of what QA is trying to do is, get the circle-shaped peg into the square hole. It's just make the game function not how it's supposed to. What makes a game fun?
Fun is the hardest thing to define, to nail.
It has to be something that's compelling to the person.
If it's not fun, it's not fun. And no matter what you do, you have to rewind.
This person might like to play Tetris and that's all they really care about. This person might like the progression of Farmville.
Let's say the aerospace engineer. If I'm designing the newest fighter jet for the military, there are specific rules in place, right? There are aerodynamics involved with the engineering of that aircraft, and if you don't follow those specific, it does not operate, right? We're in a game. There's no rules. It's like, hey, we're trying to define fun, and it's very subjective. There's different versions of what fun is from different perspectives, but you're trying to find that midpoint where the collective feels like, yeah, although this might not be my kind of game, it's fun to play.
There has to be a good set of rules in place so that the player can understand what they should and shouldn't be doing. The game should be always fair, if not even tilted in the player's favor. So like if you're playing a shooter game and you shoot here, maybe it's better to let the player hit it and feel better. I think people like to feel smart and feel like you did something to overcome a challenge and were successful.
I think the fun from a game comes from the experience and information you get to learn from it, as opposed to just, hopping in and doing a couple actions. It really comes from the story that the game can tell is where I feel the most enjoyment comes.
Like in the past, it was a little more niche, right? Not everyone was playing games, but now it seems it's not just for the nerds and the dorks anymore. I think everyone can play a game. You can pick it up and play it on your mobile phone, and more accepted as a form of entertainment. And it's probably just going to keep growing because of all the different platforms that are available. Because anyone can get a game on their phone. Not everyone had a computer or a video card when I started out, but now everyone has something in their home that can probably play a game, I think.
The technology has just gone through the roof, and we're just now going into the world of AI generated content. I'm already seeing the ability to create 3D models from text-based input. You can literally type in a string. I want a frog with red eyes that has an American flag stuck in his back. Enter. You'll get a model that represents that in 3D. So that's very, very new tech, for the 3D model side. But I see that coming into play down the road. I always make a joke about the make game button. Sometimes you get execs that are like, just get my game to me, get it finished. Like, we don't have a make game button. We got to make the game, right? Well, we're getting closer to the make game button because with AI, you can create music, you can create 2D graphics, 3D graphics. You can't create fun though. So you could, hopefully in the future, you'll be able to use AI as a way to block out your game. We've created 5 variations of a creature, and we feed that data into an AI mechanism, and it spits out 100 variations of it for us that all adhere to the rule set of those characters, right? So we'll be able to mass produce things that visually are matched, right? So I see AI as kind of the next step to game development, and I think it's already starting to show its little ears over the hill. You know what I mean?